Heather Maples was a vibrant, beautiful young woman overflowing with energy and dreams. She had recently started her college path, was getting established in her job, and her future appeared brilliantly full of potential. Her smile and laugh were profoundly infectious. She was constantly chatting, emanating a warmth and vitality that elevated the spirits of anyone nearby. And I am truly sorry that I did not send you a message yesterday, and I hope she rests well and that we can speak soon. Everything shifted on August 7th, 2015, when Heather failed to arrive at her workplace. Her lifeless body was discovered inside her disorganized apartment, dressed only in a crop top and lacking underwear. She was positioned face down on the bed, partially unclothed. It was an utterly horrifying tragedy. The question we all confront is, what sort of brutal individual could heartlessly end Heather Maples' life? What the detectives discovered inside that modest apartment that day shocked and astonished even the most experienced officers. The investigators confronted an exceptionally challenging case. No obvious leads existed. Heather had no known adversaries, and the motive was entirely ambiguous. Were it not for one minor clue, Heather Maples' murder might have stayed forever in darkness, and her ruthless killer would remain at large, free from legal consequence. This is the most critical discussion you have ever had.
This is the most important conversation you had in your life. The only way your bloody fingerprint got there is your hand's bloody. And you had your hands on her while you were raping her.
On a routine weekday morning at the real estate office in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Kelsey Price, Heather's colleague and good friend, got to the office as she typically did. Heather often slept late and was regularly delayed, so her lack of punctuality was not strange. Kelsey called to rouse Heather for work, but Heather did not pick up. The previous evening, Heather had visited a bar with friends and had instructed Kelsey, "If I cannot get up tomorrow, come over and wake me, all right?" The two young women resided in the same apartment building only a brief distance from work, so Kelsey was not excessively concerned and hurried over to Heather's apartment. The entrance was unsecured. Kelsey opened it and entered. She observed her friend lying prone on the bed, clothed solely in a crop top and no underwear. Assuming Heather had simply overindulged the night before, Kelsey shook her and lightly slapped her leg to wake her. Heather's leg was frigidly cold, causing Kelsey to scream in terror. She rushed outside and swiftly dialed 911. Police appeared almost instantly. Detective Tommy Massey was among the first individuals on the scene. The forensics unit combed every inch of the cluttered apartment, gathering proof. Heather had been savagely beaten, tortured, raped, and killed. Even more terrifying, her hair was drenched in blood with spatter across the walls. Detective Massey and his partners would later label this case the worst nightmare of our professional lives. Heather Nicole Maples was born on August 23, 1992, in Ocala, Florida. Her mother humorously called her the Storm Child due to Heather's lively, determined character. In 2004, Heather's mother had her younger brother, Ryan, who suffered from serious developmental disabilities. From 7th grade on, Heather dedicated almost all her spare time to looking after him, instructing him how to talk, walk, and feed himself. She loved her little brother absolutely. At age 22, Heather chose to depart Texas and relocate to Murfreesboro, Tennessee to study and construct her future. Motivated by an old schoolmate named Chaz, she embarked on a fresh life and got ready to register for a psychology course. Initially, she and Chaz were merely close friends without romance. But emotions rapidly grew and they started a relationship. With Kelsey's assistance, Heather obtained employment right in the same apartment complex where both women lived. Everything seemed to be progressing perfectly until her romance with Chaz collapsed, primarily due to his short fuse and aggressive conduct. When they separated, a furious Chaz relocated. In early August 2015, Heather joyfully phoned her mother with exciting news. She had gained admission to the university she had always envisioned attending. 1 week later, a monstrous tragedy occurred. She was murdered. Her apartment door displayed no evidence of being forced or damaged. Therefore, the individual who murdered Heather was probably someone she recognized and had voluntarily allowed inside. The crucial evidence items that investigators gathered were a hair strand not belonging to the victim, unknown DNA, and most significantly, an exceptionally distinct bloody fingerprint on the right side of the bed frame. Detective Massey stated even if someone had intentionally dipped their finger in ink and pressed it, it still could not have been that clear. Heather's phone was locked. Kelsey was the person who helped unlock it, and also the one who called Heather's mother with the tragic update. thinking that hearing it from a close friend would cause slightly less pain. At first, all suspicion centered on Heather's former boyfriend, Chaz. He was known for his fiery temper and extreme violence, so it was quite plausible he had attacked Heather and killed her. But soon, another man emerged. Michael. Michael attempted to cross the crime scene tape to enter the apartment because he still possessed a key to Heather E's home. How do you know Heather? I met her at the bar. This is going to seem impolite, but I must ask because sometimes specifics matter, sometimes they don't. The initial time you met her, did you have sex with her? I did not. I've never had any physical contact. I didn't hug her and never even kissed her. So you have never had sex with her, ever? Okay, Michael clarified. On the night of August 6th, Heather had invited him over for a meal. Afterwards, Heather went to the bar alone. She called me at 11:40, so 11:40, yes. And she tells me that I need to come to the bar. She really needs me right now. There are people hitting on her, and she's really upset. I was like, okay, I'll come. At approximately 11:40 p.m., Heather called Michael requesting assistance because a man named Octavio was sexually harassing her and menacing to assault her. Michael arrived to collect her, taking Heather home. She orders biscuit, gravy, eggs, 2 eggs, sausage, and we sat there and she finished. I drove her to her apartment after she walked up the stairs and she was like, at about 2:30 in the morning on August 7th, he unlocked the door for her since she was wearing a dress without pockets, and then he retained her key and neglected to return it. Footage from the bar's security cameras and information from Heather's phone fully supported Michael's account. His DNA and fingerprints did not match the evidence, so Michael was eliminated from the suspect list. Next, the police concentrated on a man named Octavio, the individual who had harassed Heather at the bar that night. On Heather's phone, there was a text message she had sent to Octavio in the early morning, asking him to come to her place. What can you tell me about him? I don't know a whole lot about him. He seems like a very nice guy. He's funny. Do you have any idea why she would send you a picture of her and Octavio? Why that's significant? They're pretty... I think she believes they're pretty good friends. As Octavio explained. Yes, the two of them had consumed tequila together that afternoon and snapped a selfie. What did you do yesterday afternoon? I went and hung out with Heather. We drank some tequila and then we went to the gym for a while. Okay. And who is Heather? A friend of mine. I'll show you a picture. Okay. Do you have any idea when that would have been taken? It was a little bit before I left to go to the gym. Who took that picture? She took it. Do you know if it was posted or sent to anybody? It was on Snapchat. But he had returned home early to sleep and only saw her message the next morning. If Heather stated that you came back over after she got home, would we believe that not to be true? Yeah, I didn't show back up over there. Heather texted me at like 2:30 or something. You saw the picture? Yeah, but I was already asleep. I saw it this morning. The detectives amplified their interrogation of Octavio, using a severe questioning technique that not every suspect could endure. People observed you enter the apartment. Phone records place you at the apartment. You were with her yesterday. Your picture was with her, okay? Because here is what I will tell you at this point. I believe she texted you to return over there. You went over there and then something occurred. No. And not only was this girl raped, she's dead. What? No way. This way? Okay, and here's what I will tell you. There's DNA all over that girl. It is going to come back, I believe, to one Mr. Tay. I'll come back tomorrow. Octavio promptly agreed to give a DNA sample, and the outcomes exonerated him as well. The inquiry was now nearly at a standstill. The police could not locate any further evidence or plausible suspects. Then, unexpectedly, a stroke of fortune arrived. The lab contacted Detective Tommy Massey. The bloody fingerprint belonged to Brandon Richmond Bowling, whose prints were already in the system because he had once been employed by a company that mandated employee fingerprinting. He was immediately called by the police for questioning. In the interrogation room, Brandon Bowling spoke nervously, his voice faltering as he asserted, how do you know Heather? We met at the gym. Do you know when that was? Maybe 3 months ago. He had only seen Heather a handful of times at the gym, and they had hooked up once or twice, the most recent occasion being in July. And he had never returned to that apartment since, realizing he was in grave trouble. Brandon Bowling kept deflecting and denying the offenses he had perpetrated against Heather Maples. Ever been to her apartment? On the occasions you went over there, did she have to let you in or was the door unlocked, or do you recall? So I think she usually left her door unlocked. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been sexually intimate with her? The first night, the second time that you hooked up with her? Yeah, we did. When's the last time you were at her apartment? That might have been in July. The detective subjected him to intense pressure. You know you were there. You know what occurred. So now you need to tell me so that I can comprehend. I don't know, I was there. Don't know I was there. That's the thing. Okay, listen. How did your bloody fingerprint get on the bed? I didn't do anything. She just got accepted into college. Was happy for her. But Brandon Bowling obstinately resisted and continued to deny the horrific acts he had inflicted on Heather Maples. Look at me, young man, because this is vital. They can sentence you to death. Do you understand? Okay, because this is the most important conversation you have had in your life. The only way your bloody fingerprint got there is your hands were bloody. And you had your hands on her while you were raping her. Will you tell me what happened? The police obtained a warrant to search his phone, certain it would hold key clues. What they discovered on Brandon's phone was something even the most veteran detectives found horrifying. A lengthy video that he personally had recorded in Heather's room. That extended video captured everything from the instant Brandon Bowling entered Heather Maples' apartment and had sexual intercourse with her to the moment he violently beat and tortured Heather while she was still alive. This was the unspeakable offense of a cold-blooded killer, an act that could never be pardoned. Poor Heather Maples was forced to suffer inconceivable agony and terror before her murder. In February 2018, following the monstrous, inhuman crime he committed against Heather Maples, Brandon Richmond Bowling pleaded guilty in court. He received a sentence of 40 years in prison without the possibility of parole. For those who loved Heather, this was not a triumph. It was a wound that could never mend, a pain they would bear for the remainder of their days. At the trial, Heather's mother, Jennifer Hunter, stunned everyone when she stated, "I forgive Brandon Bowling for killing my daughter. I forgive Brandon Bowling for killing my daughter. From that day forward, I learned, don't worry about anything and pray about everything." But for Jennifer Hunter, her daughter will forever live in her heart and never vanish. At the trial's conclusion, Jennifer approached Brandon's mother in the corridor, hugged her, and said, "Today, both of us lost a child." She added that she was profoundly saddened by all they had endured. I wanted to be sure that she and I connected because they are victims too. They are. They didn't plan this. They had hopes for their child. Our lives since she's been gone have been awful. We miss her terribly. She was our everything. Like I said, she is our first thought in the morning and our last thought at night. There is not a day that passes that Heather's name is not spoken in our home, and that is how it will be forever. As for Brandon Bowling, the killer is now imprisoned behind 4 walls, but he has never clarified why he murdered Heather Maples or what his motive was. Let Heather's story serve as a potent reminder that justice only exists when every one of us raises our voice. No one deserves to have their future stolen the way she did. And no one who commits such atrocities should be permitted to stand beyond the reach of the law. For Heather and for all the other silent victims, let us join hands to protect each other's safety, spread compassion, and firmly reject violence in every form. Thank you for listening.